So what is the one thing that I see destroying more lives than anything else? Coming up right after this.
That's unexpected. I must say, you fight well.
Now put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Good afternoon, this is Lucky Links. So, what is the one thing that I've seen in all the years that I've been doing this, actually in all my life, that I've seen destroy more people than any other thing? Some people may think that it's bad relationships. Some people might think that it's getting involved with someone who's a narcissist. Some of you might think that it might be drugs or booze or eating meat or not having the appropriate diet or not being open to the universal love. It's none of those things. The one thing that I see destroying life after life after life in all the readings that I do, and it's constantly a problem that I'm dealing with people, is the need for acceptance and the desire or need to be perceived of as a good person. Those are the biggest, most destructive forces that I see in people's lives. Now, there are 16 core drivers that sort of motivate people. And I'm not going to talk about all of them right here, but I am going to say that one of them, and not everyone has all of them, one of them is acceptance. Now, there's a perfectly good reason why acceptance might be something that people are motivated by. And if you think about it, there's a use for it, there's a purpose for it. You can't do everything yourself. You can't do everything alone. If you alienate people, or if you're a jerk, or if you put yourself on the outside constantly, it becomes really hard to work with other people. And if you can't work with other people, if you can't connect with other people, then you got to do it yourself. And no matter who said you can do it alone, I don't know where that adage comes from. It's not true. I'll tell you from experience, from myself, and I'll tell you from watching people over the years. You can't do it alone. There's no such thing as doing it alone. Now, this kind of may seem like a tangent from the other stuff that I've been talking about lately relating to a magical war. But let's see if I can connect it. And if not, it just seems like such a really important topic that I've got to do a video about it today. So, you can't do it alone. Acceptance might be, okay, well, if I'm accepted by my neighbors, my community, well, then I'm not doing it alone. I'm not going it alone. So there's a use for it. However, it goes terribly wrong when people start to completely destroy who they are for the sake of acceptance, deny their own treasure, their own gifts, put themselves in really bad situations because they want to be accepted. There's a really bad example. It's really bad because it's horrible. The young woman or the young boy who's in a situation and they end up going all the way and having sex when they're not ready because they want to be accepted by their lover or their boyfriend or their girlfriend. This happens all the time. You get a young person, they feel pressured, they want to be accepted, so they go ahead and they do something they're not ready for, and then they got to deal with that. Well, there's all sorts of ways that this can go terribly wrong, and I see this all the time. And here's where the magical war piece comes back in, because I was thinking about this in the back of my mind. People get in religious situations, they get involved in religions where they actually will be pressured by the religion to be a certain kind of person, because, well, if I won't be accepted by them if I don't do this. So they'll go through things like baptisms and other kinds of services and exorcisms, and I've seen this a million times. And I'm not just talking about the Christian religions. I'm talking about there's pagan religions too, where they'll get in a situation and they'll get involved in rituals where they dedicate themselves to something that they're not necessarily ready for, but they want to be accepted by these people. I've seen people in sort of these new age situations where they'll change their diet. Like they need to eat a certain way, but everyone else is eating a certain way, so they'll change their diet so that they fit in and are accepted by these people. And I told you guys in some other videos about some situations where I felt pressured to, stop eating meat, and I did, and it was a disaster for me. Because these people were supposedly, going towards enlightenment, which wasn't the case. Far from it. As a matter of fact, I watched their health break down horribly from their diets, and I was like, whoa, I was glad that I walked away from that. But these are just some of the examples where people they feel pressured into acceptance. I want to be accepted by this group. This is one of the really big ones. A lot of people out there, they try to put on a certain front or face or appearance so that they can draw a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a lover or a husband or a wife. And they'll do whatever they can to sort of be accepted. And meanwhile, they're not being who they really are in their heart. And what happens is they end up becoming fake and drawing someone who's also being fake. And then what happens is later they wake up and they go, well, wait a minute, I don't even know you. Well, of course you don't know them because you didn't take the time to be genuine with who you are. All you were worried about was being accepted. And in the end, this person wasn't genuine to you. You weren't genuine to them because they just wanted to be accepted too. Or they were only worried about you being who they wanted you to be. So that's the other thing too. We get in situations when we're driven by acceptance where we find people who expect us to behave a certain way. And we think, well, if I just do this, they'll accept me. Well, no, that's not the case. If you start to stray from that, well then, they start to put the pressure on for you to change because they're uncomfortable with who you are. There's no end to where this goes. I've seen people have children that they felt in relationships trapped by because of acceptance. I've seen people in horrible religious situations where they made spirit contracts with things that were feeding on them because they wanted acceptance. I've seen people in situations where they were being drained and they were working a job that they hated because they wanted to be accepted by their parents or their friends or their spouse who wanted them to work in the situation. Acceptance, being a good person. It is one of the most dangerous, damaging forces out there right now. As for the being a good person thing, there is no such thing as a good person. There are people. People are driven around by their desires, their forces that are at the core of their life, which I talked about in the other videos. Ignorance, which is the pig, hatred, which is the snake, and pride, which is the rooster. This whole desire to be seen as a good person is nothing more than the pride piece pushing people to want to be perceived a certain way so that they can be accepted by a lot of people. I don't believe in all of the years that I've been reading for people, every person that you think is a good person has a bunch of secrets that they don't want you to see. That if you start looking into it, starts to show you, okay, well, they want to fight with people. They're trying to repress that. They're not living by their values. They're always trying to force themselves in a situation where they can control the situation so they can be perceived as the good person. They make problems so that they can come in and fix those problems so that they're perceived as the good person. It's better if you look at people as equal combinations of light and dark. They've got this light side, they've got this dark side. These things work on each other, bouncing off each other, balancing each other. This whole, I've got to be perceived as a good person. If you're not being genuine to who you are, if you're not being who you really are, if you're worried about how people are perceiving you and acceptance, I am going to tell you from experience, it is going to take you down a rabbit hole that is so deep and so far from who you really are that you will wake up one day and go, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. Well, you weren't. A good person is not someone who gives up their treasure, their gifts, who they are, and what real talent they can bring to the world simply for other people's acceptance. A good person is not someone who tries to get other people to be happy and cheery and just so that they can feel comfortable with it and gain acceptance. A good person is not someone who makes other people make their decisions for them just so that they can be accepted. That's not what a good person is. A good person, let's change that definition. Let's talk about a person who has integrity, a person who lives by their own values, and a person who encourages other people to live by their values. Maybe we need to set a new standard. Maybe it's not about good. Maybe it's not about being accepted. Maybe it's about, hey, if I am who I really am at my core, and if I'm really bringing the gifts that I've got to the table, and if I really want to make a difference in the world using those gifts, then I'm going to do the best that I can to affect things maybe in a positive way. But to do that, it sometimes means you have to go against what people want you to be and the need for acceptance. Because if all you're doing is going out there and behaving in a way that gets you accepted, you're not getting to the depth. You're being superficial. There's only a superficial part of you. The real depth of you is going unexplored. Some of that stuff that comes out may appear scary or spooky or whatever to people. So what? Humans are spooky and scary and weird. We're also bright and beautiful and powerful. There's a lot to what we can be, a lot of richness. And that richness is lost when we spend our time trying to be accepted by others. You won't have the relationships that you want. You'll never find the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the husband, the wife, if you're pretending to be something else so that you can be accepted. You'll never have the fulfillment you want, and you'll never have the prosperity that you're really looking for. I'm Lucky Links, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. Hey, if you would like to get a reading from me, I would be happy to read for you. 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. Contact me and I'll tell you the details, what the cost is, and how to get a hold of me. Also, if you would like to learn how to read the tarot cards, I have one in basic tarot reading and I have one in intermediate advanced is the other class. So I've got two tarot classes. I've got one in how to read the playing cards. I've got one in how to read Mexican Loteria. I've got one in how to read crystal balls, how to scry with crystal balls. And I've got two in Lenormand. I've got one that's a basic Lenormand class, and I've got one that is a grand tableau. The more I do this, the more I teach people, and the more I explore this particular art, the more I will say this. Whenever there is a mechanistic approach to reading cards or reading an oracle, and whenever you try to force some kind of mechanistic approach, you will come upon problems, and you will only get so far in your abilities. All of my classes are designed to teach people how to get past those mechanistic approaches so they actually start to have a deeper connection to, relationship with, and understanding of what these oracles are really doing. Hey, if you like these videos, they make you think, and you want to donate to help keep them coming, I'm going to put my PayPal, my Venmo, and the thing below. Thank you to all of you who have been donating. I guess I didn't bring it back around to the magical war, but I still think that this was a really important topic, and I will get back to the stuff on the magical war soon, but this has been I've been seeing so much of this lately that I had to approach this. And if you like these videos, hey, subscribe and share them everywhere. Help me build this community in asking some questions that nobody is asking, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are saying the same things because they want to be accepted, and acceptance only gets you so far. Asking real questions, asking questions that make people uncomfortable sometimes, usually that's a case of getting a lot deeper.